So in this video, I want to explain why smart people are buying Prismatic Evolutions ETBs on this reprint when prices have slightly dropped. I know the set is still, relatively new. It's about 3 months old, and it's gotten reprinted. And I know there's still people thinking that after this reprint, there's going to be another one and another one and another one, and prices are going to go back to MSRP. Obviously, the chances of that happening are very low, but there's some people out there that are still holding on to that hope. But if you're smart, you probably know that's not going to happen. So in this video, I want to put into perspective of why buying Prismatic Evolutions ETBs on this reprint, if you can buy for around 110, 120, around that range, even 130, it's a good pickup. Take advantage of this reprint because based on history, it's possible this may not get reprinted again. And I want to show you guys some other sets of ETBs that really haven't gotten reprinted recently and what has happened to the prices of those ETBs. But first, I want to talk about Prismatic as a set. So as you can see here, Prismatic Evolutions ETBs, they have dropped from around 135 to 140 all the way down to around 120, 115. Lowest listed now is around 110. Once this goes away, it'll be 130. So yeah, prices have just slightly dropped, and all those boxes that did drop to around 120, 115, they already got sold. It's possible the next few days more people, more sellers will list. If you get that chance, I think buying at that price point is really good. But talking about this set, I know it's new, and when sets are new and expensive, automatically people just despise it. It has a really bad stigma. But Prismatic as a set is just it's very unique, and it's just has so much going for it that people don't take into consideration that when you look at this price, yeah, it's a newer set, but you take that out of the equation, it's not expensive. I talked about it many times before. You look at the set value, nothing comes even close to this set. I'm pretty sure, because I think the next most expensive set would probably be Evolving Skies. This, I think, is the most expensive set of all time in terms of just raw total set value. I don't think, maybe there's some vintage stuff out there, but I'm talking about like modern stuff. This is the most expensive one, I think, by a very long shot. So yeah, this just then is like a crazy set. But just other than that, there's so much in this set to talk about where you can't compare it to anything. It has all the evolutions, right? It has like 30 something SARs. It has God packs, demigod packs. It has Master Balls, Pokeballs. What set has that other than Prismatic? There's literally zero. So, just the set, when you objectively look at it and you don't take into consideration that it's a new set and get emotional that it's expensive and it's new and it has to be cheaper, this long term, when it goes out of print, is going to be very expensive. And it's going to just take time for people to understand that, because when things are new, like I said, people are emotional. They're like, there's no way it can be this expensive. It's this new. It has to be cheap. But when you look at this, you look at everything this has going for it, and you're seeing this reprint happening, and it's a medium-sized one, and you're seeing prices, if you have the opportunity to buy at 110, 120, what are you doing? Do you really think in 2 years from now, or whatever, when this is not in print, you think this is going to be a bad buy? Obviously, the people who think that are ones that think this is going to MSRP. And like I said, smart people who know that's probably almost impossible that's going to happen like that, they're buying on this reprint. For me, I already bought all of mine. Like I told you guys, all the Prismatic I bought when prices dipped. The first few weeks when everyone dumped Prismatic onto the market, that's when I bought, because I knew, okay, that was a good opportunity. I was able to pick up ETBs at around $100 or a little bit under. All these other products were able to get way under market from what they're at now, because I knew that was sort of a smart move. But it just took time for people to understand that. And on this reprint, you're sort of being able to retrace a little bit back in time and get a little bit of a discount. And if you're smart and you're not so sensitive that this is a new set and you're keeping this stuff for until it's out of print, buying at this price really is a good discount and a great opportunity. But people out there that are new may not understand that, but if you've been around and you understand these things, buying this sort of set at this price is really not that expensive. And I've talked about it so much. But just to put it into perspective, I want to compare this to some other sets where they haven't recently gotten reprints of ETBs. I want to show you guys where the prices are at and the set value and how different it is to Prismatic. So first here, 151. 151 ETBs are around 220 bucks. Now you can't see the lowest listed here. I don't know, it's just this seller that has been listing these for, under market by a good bit. I don't know who they are. They have sort of low amounts of sales. Kind of, a little bit sus, but they are around 220. This person just really has them low. If you do see after this listing, it goes up to 215, so it's kind of sus. But anyways, 151. Yes, it has that nostalgia factor. It's 151, the first gen Pokemon. I get it. But this set is way less valuable than Prismatic by a long shot. Yes, it's more fun to open and whatnot, but this hasn't gotten a reprint very recently. I'm pretty sure it did just shortly after it was released, but ever since then, it hasn't gotten a reprint. Look at this performance. This is what you have to look at to understand why Prismatic Evolutions at this price point is cheap. If you look at 151, yes, it's a sort of different set because it has that nostalgia thing, but if a set that's way less valuable is going for this much, and this is still technically in print. 151 is not out of print, right? You look at this, you look at the data, you look at the graph, right? Look at this crazy growth in a year. You look at Prismatic, right? You see where it's at, and you're like, 120. And you look at this, right? You look at, you take into consideration all those factors I talked about, and you look at 151, and you're seeing this price, and you look at this set value, and it really makes you question, why is Prismatic this cheap, right? It's time. People right now that think Prismatic's expensive, look at 151. I know it's a little bit different. It has a nostalgia thing. I know everyone's going to talk about it. I get it. But set value, for very modern sets, for especially sets that are in print, set value and card prices really matter, right? The fact that this can get this expensive for ETBs and the set value is like $1,200, think about it. That is what, like 6 times less than Prismatic? And it can get this expensive, and this is still in print. It shows something, right? And this is because they haven't gotten reprinted since pretty much very early on. Think about Prismatic. If Prismatic follows similar suit, it's possible the ETBs still get reprinted. It's possible because Pokemon has stated they're going to print more. But if they don't reprint the ETBs after this reprint, because 151 there's only one reprint, think about where this is going to go. You really don't think this is going to go higher than 151 in the same time frame, having this set value compared to this? Like, come on, right? This is what you need to look at to really understand why buying on this reprint is a good idea. And to not get emotional about the time frame, that, it's going to go to MSRP because they have to keep reprinting it. Well, why didn't they do that with 151? Why haven't they reprinted the ETBs? Why have they reprinted the posters? Why have they reprinted the booster bundles? Why not the ETBs? Those are the questions you really got to ask yourself before you're saying that, they're going to reprint the ETBs to the ground and it's going to go to MSRP. Some stuff to think about. Now, lastly here, I didn't even include Shrouded because that set's not even worth talking about, but Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates is a little bit over a year old now. It's at 140. Now, Paldean Fates has some cool cards, right? And you can see the growth is pretty crazy. You can see this crazy growth within the past 6 months because Bone Mew obviously got very popular. But you look at this being 140, and I don't know if it got a reprint exactly. I'm not very sure if this ever got reprinted, but it's at 140. And you look at I know it's an older set, I get it, right? It's had time to get scarce and all that sort of thing. But you look at then Prismatic being at like 120 right now, market price. You look at this, and you look at the set. There's a few cards I've chased. The Mew, obviously Bubble Mew, Charizard, the Gardevoir, and total set value 1400, a little bit more than 151. But then you look at the rest of the set. You're like, oh, okay, it's like baby shinies, whatever. It just has a few cards that people really want. Then you go back to Prismatic. All these evolutions, all the other stuff I've talked about, Master Balls, all these sorts of things, all these SARs. And it really puts things in perspective for Prismatic. And I think it's just going to take time for people to understand that with Prismatic, that this is a generational set, but it's come out in a time where emotions are high, people are angry because it's expensive out the gate. But look at these other sets that, in my opinion, They have nice artwork, they're good sets, but in terms of value, they don't even come close. And if those sealed products can get more expensive than Prismatic is right now, you think this, the most expensive set, modern set of like all time, you don't think that's going to be more expensive in a few years from now? You got to think about these sort of things. And like I said, smart people will understand this concept, but people that don't understand it, they still think this is going to MSRP because Pokemon's going to print into the ground to MSRP. Hopefully, you guys saw something here that was valuable in showing why that yes, it's a new set, but looking at other previous sets that haven't gotten really ETB reprints after maybe the second wave, buying on this reprint, it's a pretty smart idea. If you don't have any, my advice, buy just a few. If you're still wary that they will go to MSRP, you can just dollar cost average, right? Buy a few now in this reprint, price have slightly dipped, take advantage of that. And then if they don't reprint it, at least you have a few. But if you have zero and you're trying to time this thing to get to MSRP, I'm going to feel bad for you when it doesn't, because it's not going to go to MSRP. So I just wanted to show you guys, compare this, Prismatic in terms of ETB prices to other specialty sets that are good and how they perform without reprints, because especially 151 is, I think, a very good comparison. Just look at this. People say, Pokemon, there's no way they'll let things get this expensive. Then tell me why they have not reprinted 151 ETBs. Why? It's a question that can't really be answered. Why haven't they? They've reprinted 151 many times, booster bottles multiple times, the Blooming Waters collection box, the poster collections recently. Why didn't they print the ETBs? You got to ask Pokemon that, because they should. It's $200+ for a 151 ETB that has the most expensive cards, $200. That makes no sense, right? You got to think about this stuff, and this is where you got to understand. And I think once you understand it, the prices make a lot more sense, and you're like, wow, Prismatic's actually not that expensive for what it is, because it's not. So hopefully you guys enjoyed and maybe learned something here, and maybe understand why buying Prismatic right now is a great opportunity. Like I said, if you're still wary, don't go all in. You don't got to buy cases and cases. Buy a few. But timing this whole thing with things trying to go back to MSRP, you're going to miss out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.